Thank you for joining us on Let's Meet the Author, the online show that introduces self-published authors to the world. Let's join the conversation with our host Guilene and today's guest author.
Hello, welcome back to another show of the Let's Meet the Author. Today I have a treat for you. This book is amazing. I know I said it about a lot of books, but I'm serious. This book has made one of my favorite lists. It really has. It's called Midnight Blue by Tracy L. Moore. This book is a keeper. It's filled with romance, crime, drama, suspense. It almost got me in trouble with my husband because I was supposed to be in bed by a certain time, but I could not put the book down, you guys. It was that amazing. All right, so let me go ahead and introduce you to the author, Tracy L. Moore. Hello, how are you?
Hello, Guilene.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Oh my gosh, I read it and I had to meet you. I had to. So how did you hear about the show?
I was at a book expo several months ago, Tampa Bay Book Expo.
Yeah.
I forget who the host was, but I was sitting at the very front entrance, and that's when I met Miss Alice.
Oh,
and
that's one of the producers from the show, you guys.
Yes, and so we exchanged business cards, and at the end of the day when I got home, I emailed everyone that had either purchased a book or that stopped at my table and left their information.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy that happened. There's another quote from another one of our authors. Is God happened? I believe God happened that day because your book was amazing. It was amazing. I was bothering her behind the scenes and saying that, hey, you're gonna do a series, right? You got to do a sequel because I gotta find out what happened to Sergeant. I gotta find out, did the guy stay in jail? Did he not stay in jail? Because it was amazing. It was, and she said yes. So I'm excited. But we're gonna talk some more about your book. So tell me, how long did it take you to write the book Midnight Blue?
All right, it took me about a year to write the book. It's a process, like anything. Yes, it took me a year to write the book, and it was based on several events that I had experienced in my own life.
Gotcha.
And because I love law enforcement, I come from a military family, it's like, okay, after certain events had culminated, it's like I have to put it in a book and share the story. It
was amazing. And one of the things, so as I'm reading the book, and then Sergeant Khalil, so I wanted to ask you, I said, I wonder, did she do that with intent? Did you intentionally make Sergeant Khalil, he's African American, so did you intentionally do that, right?
Correct, yes.
And I'm like, okay, so we have an African American, which some people would say, oh, that's a bad thing, but it's not, like in Proud, right?
Yeah.
And then he's a police officer, which can be construed as another negative. But two of those, he was a powerful character in the book.
Yes.
Powerful. He was determined to pretty much dispel any corruption, and
absolutely,
he had a lot. So when you read the book, his character is Sergeant Khalil. Am I pronouncing it correct?
You're pronouncing it correctly.
Sergeant Khalil. So he's a sergeant, and he's pretty much trying to stop corruption in the police force.
Correct.
And let me tell you, I'm just give one tidbit. It goes beyond the police force.
Correct.
I mean, there's so much corruption in the higher ups, and which is why she has to hurry up and do the other books. You have to hurry up and do the other books.
Yes.
And so she talks about it. And this sergeant, he has all odds working against him. I mean, friends going against him, people he trusted going against him, but yet he kept pushing through. So was that your intent, to make him an African American sergeant?
Yes, it was intentional. As you know, even nowadays, this book was written and published in 2008. So, but even now, what's culminated now and what's happening now is that there's a lot of distrust of the police, but there was a time when I wanted to be a police officer.
Really?
Yes, living in New York, so law enforcement is kind of like in my blood.
Got it.
And
okay.
from a military family, so it's like I had to tell the story.
Yes.
And of course, we know about corruption.
Yes.
And we hear about the pay to play. But you have, and it's usually a few people, not a whole police department, but a few people. You know, one bad apple spoils the whole.
It really do. It really do, because you hear about it even in real life, right? You hear about, okay, well, one cop, whether white or black, right?
Absolutely.
Says they do something wrong or they committed a grave sin, and then everybody's bad.
Yeah.
But in this book, you pointed that out, that not everybody's bad.
Correct.
You know, not everybody's good, but not everyone's bad. So it puts a positive light on police officers. And it's good, you guys. It's really good. It puts a positive light on FBI, you know, and so in some instances, you guys got to read the book.
Yes.
You got to read the book.
Yes.
We're gonna talk about it some more, but I want to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back. Stay with us. We are with Tracy L. Moore, author of Midnight Blue. Stay with us.
Thank you.
Let's Meet the Author is a production of Blue Rock Media, Inc., a nonprofit organization. Blue Rock Media, Inc. is dedicated to introducing you to self-published authors that have yet to be discovered by using social media as our platform. That's how you're watching the show now. This is exciting because you are now able to support the Let's Meet the Author show. Your financial donations allows us to bring self-published authors from around the country, around the world, straight to you. And here's the great news. All of your donations are tax deductible. We appreciate your generous contributions. And when you become a partner by giving monthly, you are entitled to benefits, perks, and special deals. Thank you in advance for your support, your love, and your financial gifts.
And now, back to the Let's Meet the Author show.
Thank you for staying with us. We are here on the Let's Meet the Author show. Again, I'm Guilene, and I have Tracy with us today, the author of Midnight Blue. So, I was reading this book, and Sergeant Khalil, he's one of the main characters in the book. I noticed that you've made him relatable to other men or to the male, all right, and you've made him desirable to women, right?
Yes.
Which is why I didn't understand why he had an issue with his love life in the beginning, but you guys got to read it. So did you do that intentionally to make him such a strong character that he's relatable to both men and desirable to women?
Yes, everything is by intention, even the names of the characters and the meaning of their names, because what takes place at the beginning of the book is that a murder takes place on New Year's Eve, which happens to be usually the worst day of the year when it comes to police officers.
You mentioned that in the book, yes.
Yes, and they have to deal with irate passengers or citizens, drunk driving, and then drunk driving, as well as that's usually the worst day of the year where a lot of murders take place.
Wow.
Yes, at least in this particular police department in East Orange, New Jersey.
Yeah, because you've so now that I know that you have friends or family within the police force, so because I noticed in the book, you made it very, very real. I was like, oh, so she knows what she's talking about. She did her research because you use certain acronyms, certain departments I did not even know existed in the police force. And you showed them, and then you said, okay, this is what happens pretty much in a daily day of a police or a surgeon or a detective or even the FBI. So that's typically how it happens. So that was intentional that you chose New Year's Eve for the murder to occur?
Yes. It was deliberate. It was also in the Northeast, in the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area.
Got it.
It's a cold night.
Yeah, it was cold.
It's frigid cold.
Yes.
It's midnight.
Yes.
And even the name behind the book, Midnight Blue, ended up being one of his nicknames.
Yeah, given to him by the guy who used to be homeless, and then he's not anymore, which, that was good. That was good. I hope you elaborate more on him too.
Thank you.
Goodness. Okay, so now that you said that the book was written with intent, so everything is intentional, from the names, Athena and Sergeant Khalil. now that you wrote the book and everything is great, is there anything that you wish that you would have changed or keep or take out now that it's over and out now?
Right. No, not at all, because the intention is, when I originally wrote the book, it was to do it as a trilogy. And I was working on the second book when my father died, and so I had to put that on hold.
Gotcha.
So that's been since 2010, and
Yeah.
I've written other things, and it's like it's time to pull it out.
There you
It's
go.
time to release it. Yes.
Well, I hope you do. Just don't stop. Keep going. Keep
Thank
going.
you.
So in the book, you guys, not only, so there's a story, and then there's also Bible scriptures.
Yes.
Awesome. And then the Bible scriptures, it flows so easily with the story. Like, you know how sometimes there's certain scriptures that people try to put to match an experience or to match a story, and it doesn't quite line up.
Yes.
You did an excellent job in
you.
making sure that the Bible scriptures matched it. But my favorite part, besides the story, right, was the poems. The poems in every single chapter. So my favorite two were Passion and Home.
Yes.
So those are my two favorite. And but I'm not gonna have her read that part. Maybe she'll read it for me later, and I can record her doing it. But so
Yes.
we're about to have her do Author's Pick, which is another favorite part of my show, where you guys get to hear the author herself read something from the book. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's now time for Author's Pick.
Chapter 13, On the Heels of a Rat. For almost 2 hours, Sergeant Peterson and Officer Lopez collected evidence they found at the scene. Though there was not much traffic, they cordoned off the area so they would work undisturbed. Behind the stairs was a crawl space that had been unnoticed the night they found the body. As the person came up to the top of the steps, the crawl space was positioned off to the left, partially hidden by the stairs. The space extended back about 10 feet beneath the overpass. Sergeant Peterson took out 2 flashlights from the back of his truck that enabled them to better see the space. They put on rubber gloves so as to not contaminate the scene. In the left corner of the crawl space, they were surprised to see a small electric heater that was still plugged into a socket. There was a blanket on the floor covering several layers of cardboard. There was also a small brown paper bag crumpled up in the right corner. An empty film box was discarded nearby. Before collecting the evidence, Peterson took out his camcorder to record the scene as it had been found. Officer Lopez also took pictures using a 35mm camera. Everything they found was properly tagged and labeled. Neither of them spoke as they worked methodically. It wasn't until they viewed the contents of the paper bag that the silence was broken. Sergeant Peterson whistled softly. Oh my goodness. This is a receipt of some things that were bought from PJ's store the night of the murder. Look at the items that were bought. Some film, candy, cigarettes, and a bag of Skittles. This should be easy to track down. Whoever bought this, I'm hoping he or she can shed some light on our case. We will expect the worst, perhaps leading to the murderer. But I'm hoping this will lead us to a credible witness. Officer Lopez spoke. You mentioned when we first arrived that you wanted to follow up with the owner and the night employees of Robinson's convenience store where Baby J bought the cigarettes. To save time, I can do that while you go to PJ's store regarding this receipt. We can meet back here within an hour. Sergeant Peterson agreed with Officer Lopez. In the 4 days since Baby J's murder, Baby Jane, this was the first time that he could see a ray of hope. It was believed that if a murder was not solved within the first 48 hours, chances were that it never would. They bagged up the evidence, placing it in the back of Sergeant Peterson's truck. Then they drove off for their separate destinations. I smell a rat, thought Khalil. He was confident that it wouldn't be long before the murderer was found. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Catch a killer.
If you have enjoyed this reading so far, get the book Midnight Blue by Tracy Moore to get the rest of the story.
Your donations are needed to support the production of the Let's Meet the Author show. We interview talented self-published authors and expose them to the world. Thank you so much for your generous contributions. All donations are tax deductible. And now, back to the Let's Meet the Author show.
Oh my goodness. So, did that reading get your attention? It got my attention. Did it want you to pick up the book and read? Yes, because that's what it did to me. So, it is so much that you just put in that book. That's one of the reasons why I was doing this and I got in trouble with my husband. So, you got to talk to him and defend me, right? So, why pick this chapter for your author's pick?
I picked that particular chapter because it's in the middle of the book.
Okay.
It was one of the shortest chapters. And it's showing the progression that Khalil is making in trying to solve this rape and murder of what they learned. Originally they thought she was in her 20s and come to find out she's only a teenager.
Yeah, she's a baby.
She's a baby.
Literally a baby.
She's a baby. So the questions were, how did she get here?
Yeah.
Is she a runaway?
Right.
Is her family missing her?
Yeah.
And so in the middle of dealing with all of the other corruption, he has a case to solve.
Yes.
And so now we see that they've gone back to the scene.
Yeah.
And they're collecting evidence.
Yes.
And for them to see the evidence that's been left behind, you know.
And it's evidence that, because I don't want to give too much away in the book, but it's evidence that was not noticed the first time, because I know, well, I think I know, and this is me watching just TV shows and stuff like that, where they go and they scope out the scene, they barricade it from everyone else, and then they collect the stuff. And then, they, you know, day by day happens, but then if there's more evidence need to go, because they didn't find the film in the first one. I gave too much away, but a lot of stuff that Sergeant Khalil and Sergeant Peterson found was not found the first time, and it's intentional.
Correct.
Everything that you just saw her read or heard her read is intentional. Everything from the film to the rapper and to all of that is just, it's intentional.
Correct.
So, but it's the shortest one, but it had one of the most impactful ones. And then in this one, even when you said Sergeant Peterson whistled softly, oh my goodness, because they're like about to discover more about what's about to happen.
Yes.
I'm like, whew. And then on the heels of her, and then the last part, when she said, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a killer. I was like, yes, let's catch him, So I was ready for him or her to get caught. So did he get caught? I don't know, you gotta read the book. Did she get caught? I don't know, you gotta read the book. So you gotta read the book. I will not give away all of the details. But it's great. It is great. You also, so the part where he was struggling with romance, did you do that with intent? Because you did say that everything was intentional.
Yes.
So why show that part of Sergeant Khalil's life?
Okay. So here it is. You have a police sergeant who works the midnight shift.
Yeah.
And of course, most people usually work 9 to 5, a typical job. And so if there's any social life to be had, it's usually after hours. But his hours conflict with social during the typical social calendar that most people have. You know, and it shows you that he's human, just like everybody else.
Exactly.
And they go through struggles. You know, they have their strengths, they have their weaknesses.
Yep.
And so he's very relatable.
He is.
He's very relatable.
He's very relatable to other males and men who are, especially if they've been through something in their life, and then they're like, all right, forget it, Lord. And his prayer I love was so awesome. So he prayed something along the lines, all right, Lord, I'm tired of going through this with this lady and this lady. So she got to have this, and she got to love sports. All right, thanks, God. And then he was just like, all right. But God did it.
Yes.
He did. And I was like, oh my gosh, he found one. But what was interesting is that they still had a conflict when it came to, I'll let you read it. But there's a certain conflict. That was another one of my favorite parts, because when you ended it, it wasn't you know how once upon a time there was a queen and there was a princess and she met her prince and they lived happily ever after. And in this one, I love how you said, hey, we know it's gonna be hard, you know, we know it's gonna be struggles, but we are willing to work on it. That was the most realistic love ending to a story, and I like that, you know.
Beautiful, yes.
So awesome.
Yes.
We'll be right back. We're gonna take another commercial break. Stay with us. We are here with Tracy L. Moore, author of Midnight Blue.
Midnight Blue.
Your donations are needed to support the production of the Let's Meet the Author show. We interview talented self-published authors and expose them to the world. Thank you so much for your generous contributions. All donations are tax deductible. And now, back to the Let's Meet the Author show.
We are back. Thank you for staying with us. So all readers want to know, especially me, I have to know. So like you said, you're planning on doing a series with this, right?
Yes.
Okay. And it's going to be just as juicy?
Just as juicy.
Just as juicy. All right. And because I got to know how Sergeant is doing with his romance. I want to know what's going on with the other characters, you know, because you gave a tidbit of every single character in the book, whether they might have appeared minor or not.
Yes.
And I'm just curious. I want to know what happens to them, all of them. I got to know. I have to know.
All right.
So with that being said, I want to know where they can find their own copy. So all my readers, because they can't have mine. They cannot have mine. So where can they find a copy of your book?
They can find it on Amazon.com, where my second book, both books are, Amazon.com, and just search Tracy L. Moore. Tracy, middle initial L, Moore, because sometimes some people spell my name as E-L-M-O-R-E.
Oh my goodness. Good for pointing that out.
Yeah, so Amazon.com, and you also have the other links. I have an author's website, which is entitled sweetlyricalharmony.com. www.sweetlyricalharmony.com, which is my author's page with. I also have a blog on there where I post some of my poetry and my thoughts and ruminations, you know, about what's happening in life. Yes.
Nice. Check her out. All right. Support her, support her, support her. Again, remember, we are a show who supports self-published authors. All right. That's what we do around the world. Just like we were talking about supporting just the ones in our local community, you know. So check her out. You will not be disappointed. Like I said, this has made my favorite list, and I am just sitting in anticipation, waiting. All right. And one more thing that I always ask all my authors before they leave the studio, they have to do this part. So go ahead and hit the audience, hit the world, hit the nation, hit the community with the quote. So when they know, they were like, Tracy L. Moore.
Okay. All right. This is a quote that I always used to share with my kids as I was raising them. I have 3 children, a boy and 2 girls, and I have 3 grandchildren. And so I say to them as they were going through, because I had a daughter who loved to procrastinate, and she would like to take shortcuts. Or it's like, did you do your homework? Yes, no. So it's like, look, there are no shortcuts to success. Life is a process. Depending on your purpose, the process may be shorter compared to others. So you can't compare yourself to each other.
Exactly.
You know, the 3 children, it's like you treat Prince better than you treat Elizabeth or Deborah. It's like you'll get there. You know, so the process may be shorter compared to others. Focus on your God-given dream, and soon it becomes a reality. So birthing dreams into reality, and you'll find that also on my website.
Birthing dreams into reality.
Yes.
Birthing dreams into reality. Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. Birthing dreams into reality. I'll remember that. I'll remember that. And I hope you guys remember it. I hope you guys had fun, just like we did.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Tracy, for coming on the show. Thank you so much for sharing a part of yourself in this book.
Thank you.
I genuinely appreciate it. Before I sign off, I want to leave a quote of my own.
Yes.
Don't forget, books are like hidden doors. Open one up and start your own journey. See you soon.
Amen.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
The Let's Meet the Author show is a production of Blue Rock Media Incorporated, in association with Eagle-Eye Videomaker, and is made possible with generous donations by viewers like you.